So hello and welcome to this video on the Noise Engineering Variatic Erumption. So the Variatic Erumption is a clock source and dual channel burst generator. Most burst generators tend to just create a quick burst or flurry of notes that aren't particularly that musical, depending on how they're used. This, on the other hand, goes way beyond that. We have internal or external clocking. I'm going to clock it externally against some beats, which is just going to be this kick and clap. But to start with, we'll quickly fly through the features. So on internal clock, I have the tempo control, and this becomes a divider for external clock when we patch into the clock in. Have a hit control, which is good. We've also got CV for that, or a gating for that. When we hit hit, it's going to tell it to do something. And it's triggering the Bacillus Aturitas, also from Noise Engineering, next to it. What we do have is a count. How many notes are in this burst? So with this up high, it lasts quite long, but if we wanted to choke that out and cut that off, we can hit choke. So it's a performable, fill generating, musical rhythm generating device that we can control and bend in lots of ways. We also get the CV input for the count and CV or gate for the choke. But these are based on this internal pattern generator, which is why it's way more musical. With this all the way to the right, it just creates a steady burst at that clock pulse. And we can have a fast or a slower clock, so on and so on. But if I send a clock into this and a gate to trigger the hit, tell this to be external clock. And put this against the kick and clap. This is in time. We can divide the clock. But it's these patterns that are more interesting. So at the start of every bar, this has been triggered and now moving. We also get an end output for the last burst. So let's trigger a snare hit. Use this for a different sound. When we choke this out, it will trigger the end. So if we had a longer count, this is just being cycled round now. In time as well. Which is perfect. It's a wicked rhythm source. So we can just jam with this, even just single channel basic functions. Let's get some modulation into the Bacillus Aturitas from the molecular voltage block next to it. Add some effects. So it's wicked. It's just a rhythm device in itself. Just trigger this thing and let it create your rhythms. Really cool patch. Let's also try this as a dual rhythm generator, because we have a whole other side that we're currently not using. So we'll take the closed hi-hat and patch that into the output of the second side. So we now have this side triggering the lower tom-like sound. So with a longer pattern, we get some overlap, and this is shared around this pattern. The end of this one is still triggering a snare. Let's get another rhythm. But we can get a kind of dual setup where we take the end of one out to hit and trigger the other side. Again, against that kick and clap with some effects. We could also, say, have a longer hi-hat pattern that when that ends, will choke out this one. So we're going to take the end out into choke. Maybe do a short rhythm. So however long this side is, that's changing the pattern. The end of this side is going to choke out and stop that one. This is still being triggered at the start of the bar. That goes on much longer if we don't let this cut it out. Let's get to more interesting rhythms again. Have the end of this one trigger off the hat. Put the kick and clap in. And because this has been re-triggered at the start of every bar, this pattern's too long to have the end out, which is great because we can jam with this. I'm going to now take my snare to trigger from the end of this output. So we've got one single trigger at the start of the bar, triggering this on the left hand side, the end of it triggering the hi-hat side, and the end of the whole thing from the right hand side triggering a snare sound. Instant rhythm generator, super jammable, really fun and inspiring. It's going to do what you tell it to do and do it really well. So the Variatic Erumption isn't just for drums. Here we're going to use it for synth tones as well. Now I have this clocked externally because I'm going to decouple my rhythm sequencing from pitch, and this is a really interesting part of the kind of modular world and the options to do that for me. At the minute we have no pitch going on braids in the FM mode, but I'm clocking this and hitting it at the start of every bar and letting this dictate the rhythm to open up the VCA on braids. And I've got some effects in the background because why not? So I'm going to use this other side, which I'm also triggering at a slower divided by 2 rate compared to the left side, to trigger some envelopes on contour. And I just caught the edge of a cable doing the modulation. This is then going to modulate the braid's FM depth and also the tuning of the FM. So let's trigger this first envelope from the hit output. So this envelope's been triggered, as you can see from the LEDs. Let's add some more notes in. Just turn my effects down. So not all the notes on this rhythm are triggered, because we're triggering this side for the tonal modulation. Let's take the end output to trigger this second envelope on the cubic contour, which you can hear taking effect with me touching it. Which is going to control the tuning of the FM. You can hear that FM pitch move around. Just there. Let's add a pitch sequence to braids. Kill the effects. Some effects back. So it's a fantastic device for working with envelopes. These could be firing out resets into sequencers, clocking or syncing LFOs, triggering opening VCAs, playing into logic devices. It's a really cool device for handling rhythm in any sense, be that drums or just clock dividing things and working with rhythmic patterns to trigger long evolving drone-like patches. Check out the Variatic Erumption from Noise Engineering, and thanks for watching.